So we found out that Alex Cox was a super obvious hitman. Melanie Pulowski's under investigation, and the guards were ordered to take Lori Daybell out. We got a recap in today's video.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad, sipping from the cup at hey, hey.
Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. That sure is a sofa, and this sure is a Paul. Hello, everybody. My name's Paul if you're new to the channel, and if you're not new to the channel, well, guess what? My name's still Paul. Okay. Now, what we're doing today is a very quick recap of day 1 and 2. Now, I'm actually going live in the main channel here in a little bit, but I had some time and I was like, let me just make a condensed version for people who don't like live chats. What we're going to be doing is just going over some of the bullet points that I found of interest. This is just for myself. So this is not an in-depth analysis of day 1 and 2. These are like the main things that just jumped out to me. I've made bullet points. I have them on my notes in front of me, and we're just going to go over them and use them as talking points. So let's talk about the state's opening. So Trina outlines the story of what exactly happened that day. That day meaning when Brandon comes home, he's almost killed. He sees the Jeep parked next to Brandon's driveway. He comes home, he notices it. He sees that back window open. The rifle barrel comes out. He hears a bang. His window does the thing. It's all very quickly. He'll explain later on the stand. Lori loaned the car, the Jeep, to Alex to do this. They removed the tire. They removed the back seat. We hear that Brandon learns that Lori told Melanie he was gay and hacked into her computer and all this other stuff that, you know, were her allegations and whatnot. Now, also in the state's opening, we will hear that Brandon texts Lori about all these lies. He kind of confronts her, but she never responds. Now, we'll also hear from the state that Alex searched for a place to have extra window tinting done on the Jeep to get like a super dark tint so you can't see in it. Now, also, we'll learn that Lori gets him the burner phone for the trip. We will also learn on this that Alex accesses his Gmail account on the burner phone. You really can't make this stuff up, but thank God he did it, right? Now, also, we will learn that he searched for the window tint on there, places to practice, shooting ranges, trajectories for shooting. You name it. Also, Brandon's house address. Also searched ways like back roads to get away from the house. He laid it all out there, but he did it on the burner phone, so it doesn't count. This is like, to me, the same thing as like, I can't see you, you can't see me. Okay, it doesn't matter. You can't tag me. You can't find me. I'm invisible. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, so we'll also see that Lori searched how to remove the back seats on Google. They do a very good job at tying her in, but again, this is just the openings, right? Now we'll also learn that Lori was Alex's alibi. Alex will leave his phone at Lori's and take the burner phone. In like an hour, I think Trina said before the shooting, Lori creates the alibi. She'll use Alex's phone to call her phone on like a fake 24-minute phone call. However, phone pings, I don't want to say they don't lie because they can kind of be a little bit gray, but this is rather obvious, right? Now, also, license plate readers will track that Jeep on its way to Gilbert, Arizona. Next up on the list of obvious things, police do a search warrant on the Jeep. They find a receipt from a Mesa, Arizona restaurant. At that time, Alex was using his Gmail and Google at the restaurant from the burner phone. I mean, case closed, right? So they mention, they meaning Trina, she mentions the storage unit video where Lori and Chad put the Jeep and the tire in there, that whole 9 yards. Also, the morning of the shooting, Alex is Googling Brandon's address near Melanie's, okay? Brandon has to drop the kids off first. Once he does, movement starts. Now remember, Melanie's like kind of all in this or whatever, and we'll hear more about that from him. Then the shooting happens. Later that day, Google searches on Brandon's name are coming up from, the perpetrators to see what happened. Now they will also find gunshot residue in the rear of the Jeep. They will also find Alex's DNA in the Jeep. So that's it for that. Those are the main things that stuck out. Let's talk about Lori's opening. She's very soft-spoken. She gets objected. She says that the prosecutor and the cops weren't present, so that they have to fill in the gaps and present their own theories to what happened. She says that this case is about a conspiracy, and that's when 2 or more people conspire to commit a crime. Now, she's going to basically allege that it's like Brandon, the cops, the prosecutor, all these other people, right? And she kind of like low-key is throwing Melanie under the bus too. She then talks about Judas. She then talks talks about the Bible. She says there's no motivation for her to kill Brandon. She says they had a good relationship. She'll say that Melanie is more like a daughter to her. And then she'll talk about all the things that Brandon did, like hiring PIs. She says that Melanie was named a co-conspirator, but she wasn't, meaning Lori. She tells the jury that Alex died of natural causes. And again, she'll just kind of go down this road of Brandon, the cops, the prosecutor, everybody else is a conspirator but her. Okay, first witness right out of the gate is Brandon Boudreax, the man himself, okay? Now, I want to start this off by saying this beforehand. Brandon was heartbreaking to watch, because one thing that I learned from this is, not really learned, but just saw, let's say, like it reiterated it. This is a very gentle, kind soul, okay? That this devastated, meaning Lori, Chad, destroying his family, the whole 9 yards, right? This devastated him. He is still devastated by it. And my hat goes off to him, because Lori put him through the ringer, okay? She was a vile human being to him, past, present, and future, right? But she definitely was like, oh, you're going to get a dose of my stuff here on the stand. So let's go ahead and just talk about what took place. Obviously, the state goes first. They establish that, yes, he and Melanie Pulowski is her name now, but obviously it was Melanie Budro at one point. So the divorce proceedings began in 2019. They were finalized in 2019, like middle of October. Now, he confirms that Melanie viewed Lori as more of like a mother, and she held a lot of influence over Melanie. Now, he went into this whole thing, questioning of, I don't know how to hack into people's computers. They talk about how the gay conversation come up, and he's like, yeah, Charles was telling me that Lori was trying to convince him that Brandon, he was gay, and he's clearly upset. Honestly, you can see this in this man's eyes. He gets teary-eyed up there, right? He did not take the decision of divorce lightly because of the kids. They were very much at the forefront of all of this for him, because he was very keenly aware, oh my gosh, what is this going to do with the family? He said that so many times. Now, they will also show text messages that he sent to Lori. Remember, we talked about them in the opening. And, about why are you lying? Why are you saying this? And, why are you tearing the marriage apart and all this type of stuff, right? Now, he'll also go into talking about a community house that they, meaning him and Melanie, had during the process of divorce, the kids, the custody, all that stuff. Now, we will see text of Brandon giving Melanie, we don't see them, but we talk about them, of him giving Melanie his new address at the house. This establishes Melanie and Alex and Lori know the address, but how would Alex and Lori know this address, right? Do you think he's given it to them? No. He's given it to Melanie, who's given it to them. Now, then they talk about dropping off the kids to Mel. This is like the day of whatever. And he's like, I went to the gym, but Melanie didn't know that he was going to the gym. And he was at the gym like an hour and a half, I believe he said. So remember, he goes and drops them off. Nobody should really be knowing this man's address, right? But someone does, and it seems that person was Alex. Now, he'll talk about how odd it was that the Jeep was parked where it was at, like kind of like faced another car. And it was very close and backed in this weird way or whatever. And the back tire thing was missing on the back where they removed it. And he's like, that's weird too. So he coasts in, he sees that back window pop up. The muzzle comes out, he hears a bang, he pulls in, the window shatters out or whatever. And then he says that he thinks like, is someone shooting at me? He panics. And again, all of this he's describing like happens very quickly these motions happen, but you can tell like for traumatic events where things seem like they slow way down, that's what it seemed like to me the way he was describing it. Now, they will break for lunch at this point and then they will come back. But over lunch, Lori does not cut out with the drama. She files a motion for a new judge over lunch. You can't make it up, y'all. She'll be talking about like, oh, I thought that was yesterday, or, I thought it was done yesterday or whatever. I'm just like, oh, sorry, whoops, clerical error. It's so awkward. It's so cringy. It is what it is, right? So the state, they're done with Brandon. They're done talking about it, whatever. Then Lori's like, oh my word. You know what? My investigator has the file on Brandon. I can't cross him today. I can't cross him, okay? And the state's like, God, okay. Just move on and keep it going. We'll come back to Brandon. So they'll come up with another witness or whatever, right? And this is going to be Elizabeth Collins. Now, she owned the house that Brandon rented. From there, just some basic questioning about that. Then we see a sergeant on scene who testifies really just a lot of like laying the foundation about the car, the bullet holes, all this type stuff. Then Lori will cross-examine him, and she, goes into how long have you been processing crime scenes, and she does a lot of technical stuff. Then they'll talk to another officer who went through the stuff in Alex's truck, I believe it is. Yeah, truck. They find a practice bullet, they find earplugs, all the trappings, right? So Lori's cross-examination of this, it's long, it's drawn out. At times you're just like, what? It doesn't make sense. And when I say that, I know that it's like, well, Paul, she's not a lawyer, and I get that. But I'm even comparing it to her first trial where she represented herself. And I'm curious what y'all think about this in the comment section. To me, Lori seems even more disorganized, disjointed, going off here and there. Like you don't really know where she's going. Now, day 2 comes up. So they break after that, whatever, right? Day 2 comes up. We start off with the advisory council being late. The judge is mad. Then the state starts talking about, well, hey, look, you know what? We feel like Lori is opening the door to bring up her past. And she's like, I'm a good person, this, that, and the other. And the judge warns her, and he continually warns her. And a little bit later on, we'll talk about how she did open the door for a little bit of old stuff to come in. You can tell that she reels it in, though. Like, that's what keeps me clinging to. She's not completely gone. She knows what's going on, okay? She knows right from wrong because she knows when to reel it in. She just wants to mess with people, in my opinion, right? Now, am I a doctor, a lawyer, any of that? No, okay? Then they bring, day 2, she's got a little stuff, whatever. They bring Brandon back on the stand, bless his heart. Okay, so right off the rip, Lori gets Brandon and Melanie Pulowski's wedding date wrong, and it's kind of awkward. And she's like, we had a friendly relationship to him. And he's like, no. And she goes back and forth with him over this stuff. And she keeps bringing up how like she was there to help with his kids and the family, and so many objections, because it gets to a point where it's just like, shut up. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but it's just like, what is the point of this? This is beyond the green chicken chili enchilada thing, right? This is just inappropriate. It's like guilting him. Then Lori's like, look, we never argued or anything like that. And he's like, yeah, we did. We texted. And then Lori tries to bring up a video of him dancing at the Pink Pony Club. A huge thing of her and him on the stand is her going into the him being gay thing and her convincing Melanie that he was gay. And this is a huge thing. Now, it's my opinion. I'm curious what y'all think. I think what she's doing is she seeks revenge on some people who are in the church and the LDS faith and whatnot. And I think what she does is she goes into these things that could be considered taboo or whatever. So like clearly, Brandon being gay would be, from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, if you're part of the religion, that would be pretty taboo, right? For him to, that going on or whatever. I've heard some people talk about something with the dancing and why she kept going on that, but I'm not familiar enough with the religion. I don't want to sit there and speak for it. So there's that. So I'd love to hear for people who are familiar with it or part of the religion, like what's your thoughts on this? Also with Nancy Jo, I think she was doing this too, where she was like, you date married men, you do this, you do that. And I can't remember the other lady's name, but basically the people who Lori will get up there and try and bully, I think she's trying to make them look bad for the church. It's like an act of revenge to be like, I don't care if I'm guilty or not in this, but I'm going to make you look bad for the church. You see what I'm saying? It's like, to me, it's like a revenge type thing. And even more than that, especially for Brandon, it's a re-victimization of the victim. What Lori was doing to him up there, and he was so nice. You could tell it was like, he was, in my opinion, again, I don't know the man, but you could tell that it hurt him to be talking about this stuff. It gives me goosebumps. And he was mad, right? I mean, he's looking at this woman who killed all these people that he loved and destroyed his family. And in my personal opinion, not confirmed, probably was going to come after his kids next and obviously try to kill him too, right? So anyways, then we get to the wham, bam, WrestleMania moment of the day. So, or of the case so far, the trial so far, Lori gets thrown out, okay? So they have a break, something like that. Lori's talking to the judge. In fact, let's just watch it and see for ourselves.
And you don't need to yell at me either.
I'm at you, okay?
Yeah, you are, and you do not need to talk to me that way. I'm very courteous. I'm very courteous to you.
No, you have been nothing near courteous to me during the course of these proceedings. Talk with your advisory council about the rest of your cross. We're going to resume in 15 minutes.
All right.
So there's that moment. I put on all my things and whatnot. You've probably seen it 100 times over. But yeah, she gets in this argument. And the judge finally is just like, you're not going to talk to me this way. The real Lori is coming out, and that's what we're seeing. So all that being said, they get back in court and all that stuff, right? They come back. Lori uses the old, did you hear or see me say you were gay? And like all this stuff, right? Then she tried to bring in this whole narrative where he thought that it was the little boy with the paint gun over the shooting, and they go back and forth over that. So this is where when Lori comes back, she'll skirt around some of this stuff again. So I'm like, oh, she knows when to reel it in, right? Then the prosecution, well, during this, obviously, I can't remember if the jury was present or not for this, but they mentioned the thing about there's an open investigation into Melanie Pawlowski, formerly Melanie Budro. Then they go to lunch and they come back and Lori's like, did the cops show you documents and whatnot that showed that Melanie had financial gain if he died? And he says, yes, there was. And he's like, yeah, it was like life insurance or whatever. And so this is where this whole time she's, number one, I think, obviously being mean to Brandon, but also kind of pivoting, putting Melanie Pawlowski out there, in this way of she's, tied into this low key way or whatever. So maybe she looks at Melanie like, you turned your back on me. I don't know. I mean, it's very weird to me. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, it doesn't surprise me, right? Then we get redirect again, right? And, Brandon's up there talking to the state or whatever, and he gets very choked up just talking about the dissolving of his family, the whole 9 yards. She kept him up there, and not the state, but Lori. I mean, this is almost all day long, right? And so then, and bless his heart, even towards the end of the day, several hours later, he's still in the, what do you call it? Where you sit and view or whatever. You sit next to Kay. And I was like, man, he has to be exhausted. The emotional toll that would take being on the stand, getting grilled by the person who tried to kill you and has killed numerous people you cared about all day long like that, and then going and sitting in those wooden hard benches, totally uncomfortable. I mean, oh my gosh. Kay's been there the whole time. Kay, I mean, I love that Kay was there, especially for this moment, because it was you just know that was hard on Brandon. So I feel like, and again, I don't know them personally, but I just feel like it's been a support or whatever, and I think that's cool. Now, the rest of the day, there wasn't anything major that I made too many notes about. We see a Chandler police officer on the stand, and he confirms that Lori read Brandon's text messages. Because one thing I was sitting here watching this and saying is I was like, oh, watch. It's going to benefit her because she did not respond to those text messages. So she can be like, I never saw that. We didn't have this contentious relationship or whatever. So them confirming that, it's like, girl, you knew, right? She skirted around all that. And again, there's just little witnesses here and there. Not that they're little witnesses, but it wasn't key chunks of long span out time. But it did go until the later hours of the day. The judge is really we're getting through this witness. I love that they call Brandon first. And some people in the chat room were saying okay, they're doing that so that he can watch the trial, basically, you know what I'm saying, and not have to be out of it, so they almost a favor to him type situation, which I think was good. But I also, for me as a sofa spectator, in the frame of mind of if I was on the jury and I heard from the victim like that, first things first, he gave an emotional testimony, even though it's his wife left him, you could tell that he cared about his wife, about his kids. He was relatable. He wasn't losing it at Lori, but you could tell he was upset. And I think a lot of people watching that, I mean, to me at least, I'm like, yeah, you can identify with this. Like, here's this man, it gives me goosebumps, who's like doing anything he can to try and be like, what's best for the kids in this? And, you know, and he said even now, I didn't want a divorce. Okay. I didn't want that. Right? That speaks volumes. And then you're hearing all this, and then you see Miss Lori get up there, and already, and like from what I can understand from people who are from other, you know, channels and whatnot who are in the room, I'm getting the vibe that they're saying, yeah, the jury's already kind of like, we're starting to see Miss Lori. Overall, what I've seen so far is, like I said, number one, Alex, I said in the chat room, don't jaywalk with that man. You're going to get charged. I mean, he's obviously dead now, right? But no, you're going to get caught whatever you're doing if it was Alex, okay? We're talking, you're going into Walmart with credit cards. You are talking to every worker there. You are buying plastic, knives, everything. You even go up and wave to the camera on your way out. I mean, we're talking that obvious, right? So don't ever do anything with him. Lori's going to get thrown out. I think she'll be even more dramatic. Her mask is falling off. She cannot keep it up as good as she has in the past. She's seeking revenge on people, and this is her last show. So, and we're on day 2. Well, you're going to be watching this before day 3 or whatever, but yeah. So if you watch it, let me know what you think in the comment section. If you're still watching this, I do appreciate it. While you're in that comment section, if you could, drop some little sofas off for myself, Rosco and Spirit, Bo and Luke, and the rest of you. And until we all gather down there to talk about this case and all the other ones we talk about here at the Sofa Squad, I'll see y'all soon.
Hey, 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 welcome to the Sofa Squad. Sipping from the cup at hey.